All right, today we're talking about Post-Impressionism. We're also going to be talking about those fauvism today. Last week we looked at the Impressionists, Monet, and all these artists who were. Remember, Manet was kind of that introduction, if you will. He's kind of transitioned us into the Impressionists. Um, but we saw Monet and Pizarro and all of these different artists capturing light, showing what a scene looks like, not from the most realistic point of view, but from what captured the moment, particularly as the lights reflected in that moment. When we looked at post-impressionism, we're looking at those artists who first looked at the realists and the realism, and then they looked at the impressionists, and they thought, well, this is an evolution, and just like evolution, it's got to evolve. And where does it evolve from here? And so, post-impressionism is an evolution from impressionism, and then we go into all the other isms that follow thereafter. We're coming at a time right after industrial revolutions, world wars, and modernism, where we've got lots of modern things going on, modern thinking, modern politics, and things. The word modern kind of is indicative of a faster pace of transition. Things are moving quicker, and because they move so quickly, we're going to see lots of different artistic time periods or genres or eras kind of pop in and out. And so, post-impressionism is sort of the first short little ism, if you will, that is the beginning of many isms. But it's my favorite. It has my very favorite artist in it. Post-Impressionism is an umbrella term used to describe a variety of artists who were influenced by the Impressionists, but took their art in different directions. Lacking a well-defined, I hate this whole sentence that they have here. Lacking a well-defined style, Post-Impressionism is less casual, more emotionally charged than Impressionist work. The Impressionists are unified by the period of the time their work was created. That's a terrible way to say that. In other words, post impressions are only collected because they worked at the exact same time period. We're still going to see reflections in the manner in which they style that are indicative of why they were a group, not just the date and time. Toulouse-Lautrec was a French painter. He was this kind of short fella. He had a real knack for sketching and drawing. He was one of these who, everywhere he went, he had his sketchbook with him. Because of childhood injuries that left his legs crippled, Toulouse-Lautrec often felt left out of the aristocratic world that he was born in. He frequented the Moulin Rouge, a famous Parisian nightclub named for the red windmill on its roof, and depicted many of his friends and favorite entertainers from there. In La Joule, the Moulin Rouge's reigning dance star adjusts her red hair while the dwarfish Toulouse-Lautrec and his tall cousin Gabrielle Tapier and Céline walk toward the left. The glum assembly of characters seated around the table includes writer Edward Desjardins, entertainer La Macarona, photographer Paul Sassal, and winemaker Maurice Guibert. And another redhead, perhaps entertainer, Jean Avril. The woman with the green face illuminated with artificial light is Mae Milton, another popular dancer of the day. Toulouse-Lautrec's post-impressionist style is highly impersonal combination of the impressionist interest in contemporary subject matter and his own expressionistic color and line. The eerie green light of the interior evokes an unhealthy atmosphere. So again, I'm talking about, look at the reflection of this green on this woman's face over here. Oh, it's almost makes it look like she's sick. Like this whole idea of this bar stuff. This is just sick. The artist created visual drama by utilizing different lines, such as curving silhouette of La Guola's fixing her hair, the collar of Avril's coat, and the outline of Milton's sleeve. These kind of lines contrast the strong diagonals of the banister and the floorboards, which rush towards the viewer. And I like Toulouse-Lautrec stuff. I've got a great book of plates. Matter of fact, if I can get it right here. Oh, that's Goya. This is my Goya. Hold on, it's Toulouse-Lautrec. So I've got a great collection of plates by Toulouse. Every one of these is of superior quality. Each one is a print that you can frame and mount, but Absolutely remarkable. I love Toulouse-Lautrec. Fantastic artist. And again, the thing I like about the way he influences me is the sketching quality. His sketches were fantastic. Van Gogh was the most revolutionary post-impressionist with expression, color, form, and brushstroke. Van Gogh suffered severe depression, personal tragedies, epileptic fits, mental breakdowns, eventually suicide. Van Gogh's color expresses emotion and responses to the world. His brushstrokes of thick, opaque paint almost seem drawn. His interactive color and forms of strong expressive line influenced nearly every artistic movement that came thereafter, including symbolism, fauvism, and expressionism. And so, a couple things you should know about Vincent van Gogh. Vincent had a brother Theo. Theo was an art dealer. Uh, Vincent was an unknown. He didn't study art. He wasn't. He was actually a religious person. He became a priest. He wanted to go work with the poor and indigent people. And so the Catholic Church didn't like him because, as a priest, priests were supposed to live in a house that was given to them by the church, and they were supposed to always be clean and above all the people that they were ministering to. And so Van Gogh didn't do that. The house they gave him, he brought everybody in, so everybody can live here. And he was very giving, and he was much more involved with the people. He was just a very unique individual. Also, though, he had some issues. Van Gogh will remember cut off his ear. He got in a fight with Henri Matisse. They were living together. Matisse is a fauvist we're going to talk about here shortly. They were living together in a little house. Van Gogh had a sort of anger issue, if you will, and he and Henri Matisse got in this big argument, and he chases Henri out into the street with a straight razor, like he was going to cut him. Henri flees. Vincent cuts off the part of his ear, not the entire ear, but part of his ear, and takes it to a woman he kind of had interest in. It was really strange. Probably not the best way to get the girls you like. But what Theo did was bring Vincent into this art world. And Theo, and particularly Theo's wife, recognized how incredibly advanced Van Gogh was in what he was creating. And it was just so brand new and so revolutionary that it would affect art forever. Van Gogh's Night Cafe is a depiction of a bar, but the composition is charged with nervous energy. This is created by the dissonant and contrasting colors, the uplifting perspective that extends the pool table into the space of the viewer. So he's using that single point perspective to create this sense of depth. The piece is described by the artist to his letters to his brother. I've tried to express the terrible passions of humanity by means of red and green. The room is blood red and dark yellow with green billiard table in the middle. 4 citron yellow lamps and glow of orange and green. Everywhere there's a clash of desperate reds and greens, little figures of sleeping hooligans. Empty dreary room, and violet and blue. The blue, red, and yellow green of the billiard table, for instance, contrast the soft, tender Louis the Ninth. Nope, that's not 9. What is that? Louis the 14th green, 15th of the green of the counter on which there is a pink nose gray. The white coat of the landlord, awake in the corner of that furnace, turns citron yellow or pale luminous green. And so he's really considering those contrasting colors, the red and green, how they play together, what's the emotional response. In Starry Night, we see his use of movement, this night sky full of energy with contrast and quiet village below. Flame like a cypress, a tree traditionally associated with graveyards and mourning, connects the sky and the village. That's that large sort of mountain-looking thing kind of extending up in the center. The artist wrote of the experience to his brother Theo. This morning I saw the country from my window a long time before sunrise with nothing more than a morning star, which looked very big. The morning star of Venus is the large white star just to the left of the center of the starry night. The church spire evokes Van Gogh's native in the Netherlands. That's this area here. In Irises, this is in 1889, after episodes of self-mutilation in a hospital. This is where he cut off his ear. Van Gogh chose to enter an asylum in Saint Remy, France, the last year before his death. He created 130 paintings. If I'm not mistaken, he shot himself and then survived for days, and then eventually died. Came to his wounds. Within the first week, he began irises, working from the Natural Asylum's garden. The crop composition divided into broad areas of vivid color, monumental irises overflowing its borders may have been influenced by the decorative painting of Japanese woodblock prints. And so this is about all they mention. Influenced by Japanese prints. We are going to look later at art of Japan, but specifically these woodcuts and prints they were creating, or what influenced a lot of these impressionists, post-impressionists, fauvists. There are no known drawings for this painting. Van Gogh himself considered it a study. His brother Theo quickly recognized its quality and submitted it into the Salon d'Independence in September 1889. Writing Vincent of the exhibition, strikes the eye from afar. It is beautiful, study full of air and life. Each of Van Gogh's irises is unique due to his careful study of movement and shape. This is one of my very favorite paintings ever created. I love Van Gogh. Next up is Gauguin. Paul Gauguin, like Van Gogh, rejected the naturalistic efforts of the contrast in hues and impressions. Actually, it may have been Gauguin that he was living with, not Matisse. I think it was Gauguin. Gauguin's color was flat and appeared to be patches and patterns. Gauguin rejected industrial Western society, which he saw as corrupt and antithetical to the creative spirit. This led him to abandon his wife, children, and successful business career in order to pursue his art unspoiled locales such as Brittany, the remotest and most rural province of France, and Tahiti and the Southern Pacific. So Gauguin was, and he's one of these. He becomes a father. It's one of these guys that just kind of hedonist, goes out and gives up his wife and kids, leaves them, and goes does art. That's pretty hedonistic. Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? Later in his career, Gauguin wrote, "The Impressionists look for what is near the eye and not the mysterious centers of thought. The artist wanted to capture an inner world of fantasy and dream and portrayed it in where we come from. Where are we? Where are we going? The flat shapes and near patterns of pure color characterize the artist's style." And so very flat. If you look at these, are sort of flat. This is works probably from Tahiti. Gauguin and indicated that the painting should be read from left to right, from right to left, with the three major figures groups illustrating the questions posed in the title. The three women and the child represent the beginning of life. The central group symbolizes the daily existence of young adulthood. And the final group, according to the artist, an old woman approaching death, appears reconciled and resigned in her thoughts. At her feet, a strange wild bird represents the futility of words. Typical of Gauguin's work, the whole remains mysterious. Explanations, obvious symbols would give the canvas a sad reality, Gauguin wrote. And questions asked would no longer be a poem. And so what he's wanting the viewer to do is bring as much to the work of art as the artist himself. So he doesn't answer a lot of the questions. He leaves those questions open for the viewer to examine. Seurat depicts city dwellers gathered in a park in La Grande Jatte, literally the big platter, an island in the river Seine. Using newly discovered optical color theories, and these are the theories based on our color. Our eyes blend color. We've got receptors for red, yellow, and blue. If we put red next to blue on a canvas and step away, our eyes will blend that into a purple. Using newly discovered optical color theories, Seurat rendered his subject by placing tiny, precise brushstrokes of different colors close to the other, so that at a distance they blend. Art critics subsequently named this Pointillism. The artist visited La Grande Jatte many times, making drawings more than 30 oil sketches for the final work. His precise method and technique, Seurat conceived the painting as a reform of Impressionism. The precise contours, geometric shapes, and measured portions of distance in Seurat's masterpieces, not to mention his monumental size. These things were huge. Contrast significantly with the small, spontaneous canvas impressionists. Impressionists were working on little canvases. Seurat, if you go into the Chicago Art Institute, you'll see this painting hanging on a wall. It's like 15 feet wide and 10 feet tall. That's just an estimate, but it's huge. The great size the composition shows the growing middle class at leisure and representation of social tensions between modern society dwellers and different social classes are gathered at the same time, but and don't interact with each other. So commentary on society on top of everything else. Paul Cézanne devoted himself to portraits, still lifes, landscapes, wanting to make something solid and durable like the art of the museums. Cézanne took a formalistic approach through structural regularity of his subjects by repeating round and angular shapes in still life with basket of fruit. Cézanne is imitating the objects of his painting through characteristic tilted tables, kind of tilting the table to you so we can see the surface of it a little bit better. Cézanne uses geometric form And disjointed perspectives made him an inspiration to Pablo Picasso, Cubism, and abstract art of the 20th century. In other words, Cezanne is paying more attention to what he's doing than how he's doing it. And so he's less concerned with actual perspective. This table is at this angle, this table is at this angle, this chair is going like this. The tables are flattened out a little bit. And so Picasso, ooh, he's going, yeah, I like that. That's pretty cool. I like the way that direction is going. Cezanne's formalistic style continued into depictions of Mount St. Victoria near Aix-en-Provence, with compositions full of lines, planes, and colors. Natural Cezanne created perspective and structure through color patterns. You can see almost this becomes like a tapestry. It looks almost like a quilt with a little patchwork. The cool colors seem to recede, blues and yellows, but the warm colors seem to advance and come towards us and create a three-dimensional work on a two-dimensional surface. Oh, Cezanne. And so those are the Post-Impressionists. The next we're going to look at, we're going to skip Japanese real quick. We'll come back and look at it later. But we're going to go directly into the Fauvists. The Fauvists and the protocubists. So Fauvism and protocubism, I'm going to go through this pretty quick because, and I want to have a chance to show you a little bit of some of these Fauvist works from Henri Matisse. A time of tremendous political and societal turmoil and transformation determined the new direction of art in the 20th century. Periods characterized by radical changes from the incredible advancements in science, medicine, technology, to the horrors of multifarious totalitarian dictatorships and global wars. After this lesson, you're going to be able to connect those social and political turmoils to the trends in art and architecture and recognize how art was a vehicle for political commentary, political and social commentary in Europe and also in the United States. Fauvism began in 1905 at the Salon d'Automne. Here in a hostile critic, seeing a Renaissance-style piece of sculpture amidst a collection of revolutionary paintings examined Donatello Amour des Fauves, Donatello among the wild beasts. The painters ironically responded to taking Fauves as the name of their movement. So they were considered these wild, crazy beasts. They were doing insane stuff. The Fauve works are ferocious or wild in color, brushstrokes and distortion. Fauvism is essentially an expressionistic movement employing shockingly bold, often contrasting covers, rough brushstrokes, unnaturalistic drawing and perspective. Building on the innovation of Van Gogh and Gogan, the Fauves further freed color from their descriptive role by using it as a means to convey structure and express an expression of aesthetics. Fauvism was short-lived and as an organized movement lasting 5 years, but its influence continues forever, really. And we're going to see this in all these different isms: 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, very short, little, not 100-year spans. While we're talking about Fauvism, we're looking at Matisse. Henri Matisse elevated color as a primary means to convey meaning. What characterized the Fauvism was rejective initiative color and our imitative color, and with the pure colors we obtain stronger reactions with striking simultaneous tones. Matisse's colors are applied in broad brushstrokes that are large flat patterns or splotches, often startlingly juxtaposed, seen as this woman with the hat. His portrait of the artist's wife, she is in a conventional pose, which is contrasted with the unconventional use of color. Matisse's characteristically brilliant and striking use of color is applied not only to the background, but to her herself. You'll see she's got reds and blues and greens in her face. In Harmony in Red, this is an interior scene of a maid placing fruit and wine on a dining room table. Matisse has simplified and flattened the forms on the table, missing the front edge as it flattened out as well, to intensify the sense of warmth and comfort and contrasting colors that they provide. Color was not given to us in order that we should imitate nature. It was given to us that we can express our emotions. So these Fauvists were all about expressing emotions. Real quick, I want to look at a couple other Matisse pieces. So Matisse went through stages like the Fauvists did, and all the different Fauvists did. And he starts off working on in these sort of typical style of the Fauvists. We see these are very typical of the Fauvist paintings: the bright colors, the patterned tablecloth, and so forth. But later in his life, the Fauvist, particularly Matisse, because he was the leading Fauvist, began to create these collage style. And in his later life, it became difficult for him to use his hands, so he began to work with large cut paper and create these collages. Still, that Fauvist influences, the wild use of color, the pattern, and so forth. This is one of my very favorites of Matisse. Andre Derain, Fauvist, was also a friend and colleague of Matisse. The artist's style is characterized by striking advocates of pure, bright patches of color. In Derain's drawing the sails, he has purposely distorted perspective in order to highlight his use of color that marks space, light, and shadow. In Fauvism fashion, color is not used to describe the literal scene, but to establish expressionistic content. In other words, colors are not representative. They're just there to express that emotion or feeling. I like how we get one slide to Picasso, one or two here. Picasso was a revolutionary artist. He dominated the development of visual arts during the first half of the 20th century. During his blue period began, he had a friend who committed suicide. He didn't really commit suicide in Paris. He tried to shoot somebody else in a bar, and he accidentally shot himself and killed himself. So technically it's suicide, but he didn't intend to. He accidentally killed himself trying to kill somebody else in a bar. The artist worked with a monochromatic palette, flattened forms, and tragic, sorrowful themes. All of his paintings were very sad during his blue period. But it's really a fairly short period of time and in the work of Picasso, and not really representative of his body of work. Picasso's concern with the plight of the downtrodden, which manifested on canvas depicting the miseries of the poor, the ill, the cast out of society. Picasso knew they liked the impoverished, having been nearly penniless during all of 1902. And Picasso was one of the few artists who gained fame during his lifetime. Towards the end of his life, he would go into a bar or restaurant, feed his friends, and then to sign the napkin to pay for everything. He would use his signature because his signature was worth tens of thousands of dollars. In 1904, Picasso settled in Paris and took a studio in the building inhabited by another artist, Montmartre. The distorted pair of blue period gave way to artist rose period. This is where you see lots of rosy and earthy tones coming in. Picasso's figure representations of the time are more tender, delicate. The artist pale and clearly lighter, featuring gentle tones of pink, ochre, and gray. Picasso's rose period compositions still display a considerable void. His favorite subjects in the rose period were actors from circus performers. A family of Saltimbanques depicts a group of circus performers who are grouped together but set emotionally apart on this sort of unidentifiable landscape. When we talk about proto-cubism, the introduction into cubism is a revolutionary, completely innovative break from traditional compositions perspectives. The confrontational piece obsessively depicts 5 sex workers in a brothel of Avignon Street, the red light district of Barcelona. Picasso's literally shattered every convention of Western art in order to represent the raw, even brutal sexuality of these prostitutes. In a striking departure from the traditional mimesis, this government art in Europe since the Revolution, the women's bodies are broken into planes with sharp, harsh angles, lacking a sense of volume. The shattering is also so that it's possible that you separate the figures and curtains from the walls and the ground. The space is fragmented, multiple perspectives are shown, destroying any sense of style or unity. The nudes on the left are almost have almond-shaped eyes, scroll-like ears, inspired by the ancient Iberian sculpture. 2 nudes on the right recall African art. The motif of the female nudes of the still life, as well as figure poses, are embedded in classical conventions. This is a significant turning point away from the mimesis and towards the abstraction. One of the dominant characteristics of the 20th century. This is the abstraction. This laid the work for the cubists that would follow after. And so understand that Picasso, and let me see if I can pull it just really quickly. Picasso did not start off as a cubist. No. He started off as a when he was in his teens, he could draw with fantastic realism. He would do nearly photographic drawings at a very early age. And so what we see is him progressing, where so early he could master great works better than the realist had. He had a lot of life left to evolve and discover and change. So what he does is he constructs the first half of his life. He constructs art and makes beautiful, realistic art. And then once he reaches the pinnacle of that, he then begins to deconstruct the art. And we see him start to look at things from multiple angles. And that's sort of how that cubism comes about for us. And Pablo Picasso was also known This is Guernica. This is a painting he did in reaction to the Spanish actually bombing, I think, their own cities in the prep for the German war. It was very strange. But in any event, he was a groundbreaking artist. He was a leader in kind of depicting and understanding how the evolution of art would go on. And so those are the Fauvists, the Cubists, Post-Impressionists, and we see really their emphasis is on color and reflecting how the emotions are now being put into and how we're reflecting the world around us much differently than just those realist depictions. All right, I hope you all enjoyed. Have a great day.